Alright, what we're going to do is I'm going to show you basically some of the questions you'll probably be asked if you were working with an equation in slope-intercept form. The first question, just as a sidebar, as you guys know, as you can see here, it's Saturday, October 24th, 9:53 in the morning. Okay, now you probably all think that I was up late fighting crime or practicing, kung fu, but actually, I just got up nice and early. I was doing all that, but I just got up nice and early and decided to show you guys a couple things, maybe help you for any upcoming quizzes that might be in the near future. So we're going to find slope and y-intercept. So if you understand what slope-intercept form means, for example, y equals mx plus b, what that means is m is your slope-intercept, or is your slope, I'm sorry. M is your slope, so what that means is we have a slope of 2/5. Alright, our b is going to be our intercept, our y-intercept, so our y-intercept is going to be 3. Alright, we now have two things that we need if we were going to graph this. Okay, so technically I should be able to take away the calculators, alright, and put this kind of problem in front of you guys. You guys should be able to handle it no problem. So the two things we know is we have a slope of 2/5 and we have a y-intercept of 3. So I'm just going to write that. Okay, slope is going to be 2/5 and our b, which is our y-intercept, is going to be 3. So we're going to start off with the y-intercept and putting that right on the y-axis at positive 3. So that would be right about there. Alright. Now, the other thing you need to know is dealing with slope, you got to understand what you have. What you have is rise over run, which means we have a rise of 2 and a run of 5. Okay, now you got to understand, okay, run means running left to right. Rise means up and down. So what we're going to do is start with the y-axis, the y-intercept, and run 5, then rise 2. So we're going to run 5 and rise 2. Now I'll graph another line, or another point, just to make sure we have a straight line. So we will run 5 and rise 2. So we had a run of 5, rise of 2. Run of 5, rise of 2. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw a straight line using that point. Okay, so what do? We found the y-intercept. We used the slope to find two other points. And if you wanted to, you could plug this into your calculator and find a bunch of other points. So why don't we try that just to practice. What I'll do is I'll plug in that equation, alright, with the calculator just to see if our line matched up. So I'm going to put 2/5 in parentheses. So parentheses 2/5, 2 divided by 5. Times x and plus 3. So that's pretty much what our graph looked like. Now if I didn't ask you to graph this using slope or y-intercept, what you could do is find a table of values with the calculator. So if I hit second table, alright, 0, 3, that's one of the points we plotted. We plotted 0, 3, and that's the y-intercept. We also plotted 5, 5, and I believe we plotted 10, 7 on our graph. You can go back and check, make sure those are the points that we graphed, but those are the ones we did graph. So let's see, let's go back here. So we found the slope and y-intercept. when it was in slope-intercept form. We graphed the equation in slope-intercept form using the calculator and pen and pencil. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to change this into standard form. So this is usually something that students have a tough time with. So just be patient with it. You can also practice some of these problems if you click on the video above this one. So why don't we try changing this to standard form. Okay. Standard form means we have an equation that looks like this. ax plus by equals c. Okay, we have integers for a, b, and c, meaning no fractions. The x and y are always there, so this is basically what we're dealing with when we have an equation in standard form, and we want ours to look like that. So what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to get x and y on the same side, number one, and number two, we're probably going to have to get rid of that 2/5 because we're not supposed to have any fractions in an equation with standard form. So why don't we get rid of the 2/5 x, and we'll put that on the other side. We'll get x and y on the same side. So I'm going to subtract 2/5 x from both sides of the equation. Right? So what are we left with? We're left with negative 2/5 x on the left plus y equals 3. Okay, we're almost there. We have x and y on the same side. The only thing we need to do now is to get rid of that negative 2/5. So here's what we can do. We're going to multiply. We're going to multiply by 5, because I know if I multiply negative 2/5 by 5, that denominator of 5 will be gone. We don't need to worry about that anymore. So I'm going to multiply both sides of that equation by 5. Alright, now one thing you can't forget, this is algebra 1. That 5 needs to be multiplied to negative 2/5 x and y. So don't forget that. So remember, when we distribute, right, we need to multiply by both terms inside parentheses. So what are we going to be left with? We're going to be left with negative 2x plus 5y equals 15. Okay, that's it. We're done. We found how to change that equation into standard form. A is going to be negative 2, B is going to be 5, C is 15. Now, remember what we did in the beginning of this video. We changed, or we actually found the y-intercept, and noticed that the y-intercept is going to be 3. Alright? Well, if you remember watching from the last video, okay, if we have an equation in standard form, finding intercepts is fairly simple. And if remember in the last video, to find the y-intercept from this equation that is already in standard form, all we need to do is basically get rid of the x's. Okay? 5y equals 15, y equals 3. If x equals 0. So there's a couple things you can do when trying to find an equation, when working with an equation in slope-intercept form. Right now, all we did was we found slope and y-intercept. Slope was 2/5, y-intercept was 3. After that, we graphed it using the calculator and using pen and pencil. And then the last thing we did was we changed into standard form. So these are all things you need to know how to do when working with an equation in slope-intercept form. So go back to bed. I'm going to watch some more cartoons and have a good Saturday.